Morning. It is open phones, whatever you'd like to chat about, 989-752-6111, and we'll get the conversation going. Again, 989-752-6111. I pulled an article out. Have you shopped for cars lately?
No, and I hope that I won't need to anytime soon, but I don't know how likely that's going to be.
I got two stories here that are the low and the high.
Okay.
All right. The first one is, this is from USA Today, 10 cheapest American cars being sold in the 2026 model year. And the thing about it that I noticed, these are the cheapest cars. And depends on your definition of cheap, I guess.
Yeah, it puts me out already. In the 2026 model year, I'm not buying anything newer than a 2016 probably is.
All right, so here's the list of the 10 cheapest that they found. A Chevrolet Trax at $22,995. That's the lowest. The Buick Envista, $25,995. Buick Encore GX at $27,895. The Ford Maverick at $28,145. The Chevrolet Bolt, $28,995. The Dodge Hornet at $29,995. These are the cheapest.
Yeah.
The Jeep Compass at $30,165. The Chevrolet Equinox at $30,495. And the GMC Terrain at $31,895. Whatever happened to the $15,000, $18,000 new car?
Right.
Forget it.
No. No.
So on the other end of that, as I said, I have the high and the low. But this one you would have to bid on or win. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Ford has opened their vault to auction off a rare 2006 GT Heritage Edition. It's got to be worth a couple of $1 million at least. That's the other end of the spectrum.
But that's okay.
But that's a special car.
Yeah.
And you'll never drive it.
Exactly.
You'll take it, put it in your garage, and never drive it. And all that money raised from the auction of the car will be used to renovate and maintain the other vehicles in Ford's heritage fleet, as well as prepare its GT collection in England for Le Mans next year. Okay. Then this may be the first of other cars from their collection. They have a collection of heritage vehicles.
They want to see how much they get for it first.
Yep. This 2006 Ford GT Heritage Edition, production number 3. And it's going to be auctioned off at the Scottsdale Fall Auction at Westworld of Scottsdale, Arizona. No reserve, so whatever they get, they get. And this is the earliest Heritage Edition ever to be released to the public. So, folks, those of you with very deep pockets, Scottsdale's calling.
I got $3 on it, Art.
That won't even get you the admission price to watch, I don't think.
No, probably not.
Well, you can probably see it on television. It's an amazing, amazing vehicle. Of course, the history of these Ford GTs, these are the cars that early on and beat Ferrari back in the day.
Yep.
That Enzo Ferrari was really upset that Ford wouldn't buy his company, and got his comeuppance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, a big movie about him.
That's the only history I know is the movie.
It was pretty accurate. It's pretty good. It's good viewing. But there you go, folks. The cheapest, and the other side of that coin, the most expensive. Now, that's not the most expensive car in the world. I mean, it's most expensive in this group of Fords that we were talking about here. Probably the most expensive on a regular basis is the Ferrari 250 GTO from the 60s. They're estimated at around $70 million. Pocket change.
No. Yeah. Get a
Because
couple
if
of
you're a
them.
baseball player making $400 million like last time.
Scooble's going to grab one after his signing bonus.
Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, it blows my mind that what some people, every now and then I will watch Mecum auction and Barrett Jackson auction on the tube, you know. And I just shake my head at some of the prices these people pay for these vehicles. You know, and some of them don't get sold because the seller wants even more.
Mm-hmm.
So I just ask myself, what's it like to have that much money that you don't care? You know?
Yeah.
What could you be doing with that money to help people and all that stuff? Which is fine. I mean, you know,
a lot of people do.
And they do both. I mean, people with a lot of money do contribute to their communities quite a bit. They're philanthropists for the most part. But I look at some of these cars and these auctions and go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I see one that I used to own. I'll give you the example. I had a 1964 Corvette, and it was special because it had a limited engine. The Corvette in 1964 had a series of hydraulic engines from like 250 to 350 horsepower. Then there was an engine that had a special Rochester injection unit on it, and it was 275 horsepower. The step below that was that engine, but with a big 4-barrel carburetor that made 365 horsepower, and that's the one I had.
Okay.
And I used to race at hill climbs and stuff. And I bought the car, and the numbers are a little foggy, but it was just under $4,000, new, 1964. The last one I saw go over the block, closely equipped to what I had, 115, 120,000. I kick myself pretty regularly for that.
Yeah, but what's the condition on the ones that are getting?
Oh, they're
Are they
restored? They're in beautiful condition.
Yeah.
Well, mine would have been too. I babied that thing.
Okay.
Another one I had that I wish I had kept was a 1967 Pontiac Grand Prix convertible. It was a huge convertible. Only made it 1 year. Well, the things we wish we did.
Yeah.
The stuff my late wife and I used to go to towns where they had lots of antique stores just to look around, you know. I stopped doing it because I saw too much stuff that I had going for too much money.
Right.
So I don't go to these antique things anymore. I used to own that. I had one of those. You know. And you kick yourself because sometimes you know, but how do you know? You know?
Yep.
How do you know?
I was down at Henry Ford a few weeks ago, the museum.
Oh, I love that place.
Loved walking around there. But I was walking around with my grandpa, and he's big into antiquing and has all that. It is so fun to walk around places like that with him because he'll go, yeah, I had one just like this. And there was a couple things where he'd walk up. He's like, I got 2 of those at home. And I believe it.
I used to collect. I still have a few telephones.
Yeah.
And at Henry Ford, I'd walk around in the communications area and I'd say, oh, yeah, I got one of those at home. You know?
Yeah.
And I had probably 3 or 4 of ones they have on display. You know, I've got a couple of candlesticks, one with a dial, without a dial. I've got a railroad wall phone that hangs in my kitchen. Has a headset rather than a speaker, you know, and you talk into. And I had at the time I had probably 5 or 6. I got rid of a couple of them.
That's cool.
Yeah, I found them interesting, fascinating. Take a break, come back, lines open. Whatever you'd like to talk about, give us a call. In the meantime, all right, Art Lewis, Jonathan Dent back with you on this Friday morning regarding the poll that just was on there about local communities setting speed limits. I am all for it, with the exception of state highways and federal highways that run through communities, because who knows their streets and the condition of their streets better than the local community.
Mm-hmm.
So yep. They want to set speed limits through neighborhoods at 25. They should have the right to do that without having to go to some higher authority someplace, you know.
The more localized authority there is, the better.
Right, and they've still provided for a law enforcement authority to overview it by saying that the top law enforcement, in this case it's a sheriff in almost every county, would have some sway. Or in a community, I guess if it's a city, the police chief would have some say.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. Seems logical. We're talking about government now. It seems
It seems logical, but who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
It's the way of government to consolidate that kind of power, though.
All right, let's talk to Carl in Saginaw. Carl, good morning.
Good morning, Art. Hello, Jonathan.
Morning.
Jonathan, I'm curious what your thoughts are about, everything that's been going on with Trump, going after his political enemies, suing CBS and, Jimmy Kimmel, and putting troops into cities. Are you concerned, Jonathan? How do you see these things?
You got to separate those. There's a lot of stuff packed in there.
I do have the stronger opinion on the National Guard thing, so I'll take that last. But
Good.
when it comes to the lawsuits and the general stuff, I see it as bluster. He knows how to make noise and stay at the front of public consciousness, which is what he wants.
And how is it different than what the Democrats did to him?
Exactly.
I don't believe President Biden ever sued Fox News.
No, they tried to
Or
impeach the
anything
president.
like that.
They tried to impeach the president 2 or 3 times. That's all. Nothing like going to the news. I mean, let's impeach the president. What the heck?
And
That's a different subject, Art.
No, it's not. It's
But
the same
I'd like to
thing.
know what Jonathan-
They went after him.
All right, I'd like to know. All right, Jonathan? What do you think about him going after his political enemies?
that's nothing new. That's something that has been going on for a very long time with either end. He doesn't... In a lot of the cases where it's being said, Trump is doing this, he doesn't actually have the authority to do that, and a bigger deal is being made about it than actually happens, just like a bigger deal is being made out of the suits, the civil suits that were brought against him, as, aha, we got him. No, you didn't. It's the same thing where he's not actually going to be able to accomplish too much in that realm. He's able to hold things up and make a lot of noise, but what else is new in that general arena when it comes to going after individuals that are in positions that you disagree with?
And also, just to make a point, like, let's take Bolton, because that's the most recent one, all right? Yeah, he wanted him pursued.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, unless the grand jury returned the indictment, nothing would have happened. But a grand jury in Maryland returned the indictment.
Yep.
That's a key to that.
Okay, there may be evidence in the Bolton case that may be different from the other ones. Okay, Jonathan, while we have time, what about the National Guard in the cities?
I disagree with it completely. I think
too.
it's a terrible move. I think it's awful.
And I said the same thing, and I told Carl that. I do not agree with it. I mean, if you want to send in the FBI, you want to send in the ICE, go for it. But the National Guard, no, I don't want to see troops enforcing the law like that.
I even think to a certain degree, the FBI, I understand immigration enforcement mostly, but it's federal overreach. Like I said, the more localized the authority can be, the better, and that applies here.
Yeah, but there is a point where local authority fails.
There is.
And,
And if they ask for assistance, I understand it, but
Well-
but saying we're taking over this aspect of your enforcement, I disagree with.
There's got to be a fine line someplace. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be a fine line when a city fails in protecting its own population. And I point to Illinois, toughest gun laws in the country,
Yeah.
highest gun rates.
And are they not asking for help for political reasons? I think that's on the table. I think
Well,
that's
but
possible.
It's possible
but
too, you know.
But
or
yeah, no,
rejecting it for political reasons.
I think forcing that kind of thing is awful, and I disagree with it completely.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you.
Well,
Carl?
I'm glad to hear that. I would rather see them helping the police, increasing police funding, the police who are trained to do this kind of thing.
But then you have to go to Chicago and their city council to say, fund your police department.
Give more money to your police department, and the voters don't want to give more money to their police
That's
department.
the problem.
In Washington, D.C., Congress decides the budget for the police department, not the city. In Washington, D.C., Congress has the purse strings, and they decide how much the police get there. So it's just so instead of sending in the National Guard, which costs millions and millions of dollars, they could have done it the better.
No, it's going to cost millions of dollars no matter how you do it. You might as well get used to that. That's the bottom line.
Well,
first of all, in order
I'm
to
glad
find
that
enough people to want to be police officers, you got to offer them a living wage and benefits and all of that stuff. By the time you're done, you've spent the money.
Well, I'd rather see it spent that way than National Guard walking around picking up trash.
I think we underfund our police. They deserve to have bigger departments, to have more enforcement. What we really need is to go back to the original system of beat cops, neighborhood cops, where they know everybody in the neighborhood, everybody knows them. And that is the way it used to be in big cities. I lived in New York City, and I knew the beat cop, and he knew me, and he knew my parents. And if I got out of line, I knew who would be telling them. So those days are gone.
Might be over. Those days might be over, Art.
Well, yeah, and that's why we're seeing the results we see today. Because if those days were still here, we wouldn't have the kinds of problems we have.
And Carl, I do just want to mention, I looked it up because I was interested in this. The DC's local budget, which includes their municipal police, is developed by their mayor. Then it goes to their city council. Then Congress has final say in it. But the budget in general is developed through that localized authority.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, good enough.
Right.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it.
Nice
Joe, hang on. We'll get to you next. Back with you, Jonathan Dent sitting in with me, and Joe is in Saginaw this morning. Joe, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, you guys. How are you?
Doing well.
I was traveling on the road, so I haven't heard the morning show exactly what's going on, but I wanted to address the idea of Mr. Trump's behavior with regard to the political process.
Yeah.
And the concept of whether he has been treated unfairly. And what I'm looking at is two things. Impeachment. And from my perspective, the impeachment process is part of the political process. And I find nothing wrong. And I'm a registered Republican. I'm really an independent voter, but I'm a registered Republican. I find nothing wrong with pursuing impeachment. If there's a merit to it, it's going to pass, and if there's no merit, it's going to fail. But
well, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let's talk about that before we get to the next one.
Yeah.
The founding fathers were very concerned about impeachment and it being used as a political tool, which is why they made it so difficult to convict. They were very, very worried that one party or the other would use it against the other party because they couldn't get their way, so they try and get rid of the guy on top, so to speak. And that is why in the early years, up until probably Nixon, it was hardly ever used. Now all of a sudden everybody stands up and says, let's impeach him.
Well, it's a way to smear the
and that's
reputation.
What
that's all it is.
And that's what the founding fathers were worried about. So, okay, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I'm complete agreement with you. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
The idea is that it is a difficult process. If you look at those impeachment activities, it didn't lead to the removal of the presidents in majority. There was, it's a difficult process. However, on the other side of the coin are these personal attacks for example, with FCC licenses for radio stations, there's no way in heck that the president should morally be able to use his power ethically or legally, use his influence to shut down stations that he doesn't like.
He hasn't
and
done
he doesn't
that.
like the speech.
He hasn't done that.
And the same thing is true of individuals. He has a long history. He had 4,000 lawsuits filed against him before, as I understand it, before he ever ran for office the first time. And
Well, let me-
lawsuits in part, well, let me finish. He has a long history, including those lawsuits, of attacking people using his money to put them at a disadvantage financially and preventing them from pursuing what they want to do.
All right,
and that's been true in a variety of circumstances.
Let's
and that's what he's
understand
doing
this.
now.
Let's understand this. There is
Yeah.
absolutely no surprise in anything you just said. You will remember when he was running for this second term, he was quite boisterous about the fact that retribution will be his. I mean, he came right out and said it. So I'm not surprised about it.
I
Now,
agree with you.
having said that, he has not put any radio stations off the air. And
CBS, he has.
no, he hasn't.
NPR, he did.
NPR is not a license. NPR is a network. NPR
Well, we can talk
got
about
government
that, but
money.
You know in your heart that there's stations going off the air.
Those stations are not.
You're giving them a pass.
Well,
That
I
he
don't.
doesn't
I haven't heard of any yet, and I'm not giving them a pass. But you have to understand the FCC doesn't control networks. I had this discussion with another caller. The FCC cannot tell CBS or NBC or ABC what they can say or can't say. But, and here's the but, those networks own licenses which the FCC does have sway over. But they do
And
not
you're getting
have
my
sway
point.
over the network itself.
Now, I'm not making that claim. I'm talking about radio stations.
Well, I am
And
too,
TV
because that's what they
stations.
own. Radio and TV stations are the licenses.
Yeah.
And none of the commercial stations that I know of have gone off the air because the president didn't want them on.
Well,
None
that's
of them.
a true statement. But my point is that he is using his powers in a way that's never been done before, and he's using it vindictively. He's
Well,
not doing it based on justice. My feelings are hurt. As a Republican, I'll tell you right now, Republicans are way too thin-skinned. Every time you hear somebody criticize the president or the Republican Party or the NRA, you're a hater. And we need to have
Well, but who's saying that?
in our community.
But who's saying that? The opposition is saying that. Republicans aren't saying that. The opposition's
Well,
saying that.
when anybody comes out with any
Well,
criticism,
it's
largely they get.
or they get named. See, the Democrats lost this presidential race because all they did was name call. They didn't come forth with any programs. All they did was say fascist, Nazi, so forth, so on, till you were sick about it. And the fact is, they came forth with nothing to tell us how they're going to make life better.
We're seeing it the other way now.
And now we're
you've
seeing it
got-
the other way to some degree.
Well,
But-
you're making a point, and I won't disagree with that. But what I will say is that this president is the first president we've ever had that labeled other people with nicknames and called them demeaning things as
Yeah.
a matter of habit and a personal and ad hominem attack. And it's his strategy.
If we go back to the
And
founding
that
fathers,
the
you
party
may
has picked up on that.
if we go back to the founding fathers, you may not find that's a true statement, but that's what they called each other back in the day. But here is the thing.
Yeah, but
Now,
wait,
wait, just a second. I'm a New Yorker. I grew up
Yep.
in New York, and I watched Donald Trump. What you see is what you get. Don't be surprised by that, because that's the way he has always been, and he doesn't hide it. Now, is it good? No, I don't like the man.
But that doesn't give him a pass.
What does give him a
Bad
pass?
behavior is bad behavior, and people should say so.
How
Well,
people
but-
behave has nothing to do with whether they should be in all. Like calling
Yeah.
people names isn't.
Because in that
Indicative
case,
of
the squad
ability.
should be out of the office too, because that's all they do. And the
Okay,
reality
look,
is he gets a pass only because the voters elected him. If the voters don't elect him, he
he's
doesn't get a
got-
pass.
His words influence other people. I listen to you because I like the way you think. And if I disagree with you, you're going to be very logical. Yeah, the president's words are just like what your words are. People listening in this audience are going to pick up on what you're saying, and they're going to say, well, it's okay to call people names. Who cares about that? It happened in the
I didn't say it was
1700s and
okay.
1800s.
I didn't say it was okay. I said he
That's
gets
my
a
point.
pass
It's
because
not
the
okay.
voters put him in office. I don't think it's okay
And I
for
can
him to
tell you-
do it, and I don't think it's okay for the other side to do it. But that's what politics has become today, and we've allowed that to happen by who we elect.
But that's what I mean by being thin-skinned. You're not a hater because you criticize. And that is a part of the mantra right now, is if anybody objects to anything, you're a hater.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
And I fully agree with you. Fully agree with you.
And
But in terms of him getting a pass, the pass is only as good as the voters let it be. Now, obviously, he can't
Well,
run again, so you will never have a
there's
chance to
just-
vote
there's-
for him again. But the Republicans have to face the music next year when it comes to the midterms. And what he does affects what happens in the midterms. So,
you're absolutely right. I
so
don't disagree with
you know,
that.
that's when the pass comes or doesn't come, you know?
But, yeah, the purpose of my call, though, is to distinguish between an impeachment activity as part of the political process and all of these other vindictive activities and
Yeah.
the pressure that's being exerted. I disagree with that entirely.
Good
And
enough.
I will tell you,
Yeah.
you said you grew up in New York and you knew of him when he was there. I have a relative of mine, a very close relative, who lived and worked in New York City and went to functions with Trump. And when I asked her what he was like back in 2015, she said, and I don't mean this as bad as it's going to sound, but she said, Daddy's evil. He's pure evil.
Well,
And that was her impression of that guy. And then it
I'll
was
give you
probably
another version
from
of
the
that.
Female perspective.
let me give you another
Pardon
version
me?
of that. Let me give you another version of that. On the surface, and what he does publicly, his bravado and all of that, yeah. But I know a lot of people that had to deal with Donald Trump professionally and politically who say he's an excellent leader, that he's an excellent listener, and that he's very kind in private. Now, I've talked to the man 3 times in my career, and he's always been very nice to me, so if I had to judge him on what our conversation was, I would have nothing but kindness to say about him. I know too much about him to do that. I've seen him in action too much. But there are 2 sides to Donald Trump, like everybody else, you know?
They're sure. You think about the women who won lawsuits against him. That shows a different character, not a kind
sure.
and generous
yeah,
guy,
but
an evil guy.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Joe, I got to go because I got to take a break here. But thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Hey, thank
Great
you
call.
guys for letting me in. I appreciate it.
Oh, I
very
appreciate the
much.
call. Thank you. Greg, hang on. We'll get to you as our last caller.
I just called in about the reports you folks had on earlier today about the poor moose in the UP.
Oh, getting
They're
hit.
getting hit.
Yep.
Well, our so-called DNR is concerned about these calves might not survive because the mother got hit. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yet they turn around, they're so worried about these, but yet they turn around and let these farmers shoot all these deer in the spring as soon as the crops come out of the ground. And those fawns might be a day old, might be 2 days old, but do you ever hear any concern about these deer that are starving to death?
Well, I'm gonna have to put it this way to you. They're 2 entirely distinct items. The moose
That's true.
are very few relative to the deer, and while it's true
know.
that a calf might be in peril if the mother is killed by a car, down here the deer are overrunning these areas, and these farmers have permits to glean the herd, so to speak.
And the DNR aren't quite as concerned, at least my take on it is they're not quite as concerned with the cruelty of letting a moose calf starve to death as they are with keeping the numbers up.
Yeah.
Whereas deer, the population is too high, they need to lower it.
Yeah, and that's part of it. It's unfortunate, though. I understand what you're saying, and they do look at it differently.
Do you two, you and Jonathan, think that it's right that they let these young fawns starve to death?
Well, listen, it's unfortunate.